The Brooklyn neighborhood in Charlotte was the result of the separate but equal ideology after the Civil War. Brooklyn was around for the first two-thirds of the 20th century, where it was known as an all-black neighborhood. Today, it is known as Second Ward in Charlotte. It was often referred to as the city within a city. While much of Charlotte has been heavily gentrified in the last few decades, nowhere was hit as hard as Brooklyn, the neighborhood that was erased from Charlotte.
This is where we orchestrated in this community. And this was known as Brooklyn. This is where black folk lived. This is where the churches were. This is where our businesses were.
Charlotte historians Heather Smith and William Graves share in their book, Gentrification as a Corporate Growth Strategy, The Strange Case of Charlotte, North Carolina and the Bank of America, that Charlotte's gentrification was first introduced as a deliberate strategy on the part of a locally headquartered bank to alter the city's image, attract mobile human capital, and enhance the corporation's own position as a globally ascendant financial institution. This headquartered bank was known as the North Carolina National Bank, which is now known as Bank of America. Bank of America's former CEO, Hugh McCall, was a predominant figure in Charlotte's development. He carried a deep passion for the future of Charlotte and dreamed that Charlotte would become the most exciting inner city in the United States. Dr. Khalid Hijazi found in their dissertation, The Effects of Urban Renewal on African Americans in Charlotte, North Carolina, that over the span of 14 years, more than 900 families were removed from their Brooklyn homes and the entire neighborhood was demolished. This destruction was a result of the Urban Renewal Project, which took place between 1960 and 1974. Brooklyn was not alone in its destruction. Many cities across the United States carried out urban renewal projects that displaced black communities. When the Housing Act of 1949 allocated federal funds to purchase and demolish slum housing, the city of Charlotte immediately made plans for Brooklyn.
During a period of time, there was this urban renewal that came through, and I often heard it growing up as a child as being referred to as black removal, because that's what I witnessed, that black folk were actually displaced from the Brooklyn community, which was uptown Charlotte, and moved to the west side.
The city no longer had to argue their white supremacy. Rather, white leaders argued that the potentially most valuable property was covered with houses that are among the worst in the entire city. In December of 1961, a ceremony was held that marked the start of the Urban Renewal Project in Charlotte. Mayor Stan Brookshire used a sledgehammer and destroyed the porch of the Brooklyn House on 310 South Davidson. Redevelopment Commission Chairman Elmer Rozier took a swing as well, stating, "In the years to come, no one in Charlotte will have to live in a house like this." The Redevelop Commission began buying and tearing down Brooklyn land throughout 1961. Brooklyn suffered a slow and devastating death. By August of 1963, Brooklyn reportedly had several vacant and rotting buildings. Many buildings caught on fire as well. My mama had renovated that house, Barbara Crawford Steele shared when asked about her Brooklyn home. We had electric lights. They put electric lights in the house and they put a furnace in. We had 3 bedrooms, we had a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and a great big front yard and a great big backyard. It meant everything to us and we loved that house. Angela Wood Fritz, whose father worked in Second Ward, shared, "There was a lot of, I see what they're going to do to us. They're going to close down all of our schools and make us move. It was just all of a sudden, bam, this is how it's going to be, deal with it." There was a lot of anger.
Congested streets, inadequate parking, retail vacancies. There's only one answer. That is a master plan of development. It's do or die for downtown Charlotte.
Not only were their lives impacted by the destruction of their homes, but they lost many historic schools as well. This was a result of federal pressure to desegregate schools. Instead of integrating white students into black schools, Charlotte decided to demolish all Center City black schools, such as Fairview, Alexander Street, and Second Ward High School. While many displaced businesses tried to reopen in new locations on the west side, they struggled due to many factors. Many former Brooklyn residents had been dispersed across the city, so they were no longer within reach of the reopened businesses. It was also difficult to reopen elsewhere in more white-dominated areas. The Urban Renewal Project attempted to cover up any mark that the Black Charlotteans had created during the Jim Crow era. Ed Anderson's childhood home was bulldozed in the Urban Renewal Project. He shared, "The church I attended, leveled. The elementary school I attended, leveled. My home, erased. All of our little community was wiped out and we were scattered everywhere." Where the Brooklyn community once lived and thrived now lives Charlotte's Second Ward, most notably known for the NASCAR Hall of Fame and the Charlotte Convention Center. Where children once played is now home to concrete medians and Whole Foods.
On this side of the street, the Savoy would have been right in there, Savoy Theater. I don't see anything here that remotely helps me to remember where anything is.
The only buildings left today from Brooklyn are the AME Zion Church on South Brevard Street and the Mecklenburg Investment Company on Brevard Street. The Zion Church is one of the oldest black churches in Charlotte, and it was built in 1902. The Mecklenburg Investment Company building was completed in 1922. A young artist named Abel Jackson painted a beautiful mural which features 3 black men critical to the Mecklenburg Investment Company from Brooklyn. These men are J.T. Williams, Thaddeus Tate, and William W. Smith. A new group named the Brooklyn Collective has purchased these buildings in hopes to preserve and redevelop the Brooklyn neighborhood. Our mission is centered on upward mobility and inclusivity, shared Jason Wolf from the Brooklyn Collective. That type of person and that type of work has been performed on this corner of downtown Charlotte since 1886, and we have the privilege of drawing upon the history of these buildings to inspire future actions. Wolf says he wants to recreate the energy these buildings once had. As Charlotte continues to grow and develop, it is important to recognize the dangers of disrespectful gentrification. While city development is often a good and essential thing, disrespecting your city's culture and its people in the process has resulted in a bland city which lacks identity and pride. It is up to us as residents of Charlotte to remain active in our communities and work towards preservation and improvement rather than removal and destruction.